caring ministry and spiritual oversight of the church. We think, anyways, as the deacons, that David has been performing a spiritual oversight function, and that is part of the constitution as well as one of the functions of an elder. I don't want to say too much more about that. We, as an executive, want to bring David's name to the church, and the church should vote on it, whether yes, no, or abstain. We've got ballots. They would just we're not going to. Maybe just one thing. If there are any questions here, because if you want to discuss this, then we can discuss it with our David. But if yes,
can we nominate anybody else?
You can, but not today. And why I say that? It's because the name of David was brought to the church in the announcements about 3 Sundays ago. And so there needs to be, in terms of the Constitution, a 2 weeks notice. And then it needs to be accepted by in an annual general meeting. So you can nominate, definitely. But there needs to be a bit of this is a time that needs to elapse. I've got pen.
No, that's not the bunch here.
We need a pen.
You only get to keep one.
I'll borrow your pen, Jimmy. Thank you. Thank you.
People don't talk, then ask them one.
Yes, Amani's got a question.
You want me to fetch it?
Yes, I would, let me ask this, if we just stop voting quickly, I would like to, us all to just address Amani's question. Yes. I nearly want to say Mark is he's very much into understanding the role between pastor and elder. However, let me put it like this. It's interesting, but actually, and a pastor is actually also an elder. It's much the same. Mark, the question is here, can an elder also be a pastor?
Well, an elder is a pastor. Or if I hear you right, are you saying, does it make any difference to David's candidacy as a pastor? No, it should make zero difference. And we'll have to repeat this when we get to, well, we might have to. We might not have to repeat this when we get to the point. Remember, when the pastor, what we do is we'll come to you and say, we've chosen Piet Pompies. Do you want him or not? Okay, now if we say David, we've chosen David, you have to then respond accordingly. Him being an elder has got nothing to do with it. If he's an elder, I'll count them first.
But if
Okay,
the pastor is, we vote for pastor, he becomes the head elder. So he becomes the elder amongst the other, he himself becomes the leader of the elders that they have.
So yes, it's but it's a question, and I like the question. With regards to finances, there's no funny expenses. I must, other than I have to speak to Jenny about that tax, and I haven't yet. There was a tax expense in August. But other than that, in the building fund is around about 276 at the moment. That's been replenished quite a bit. Over the last 12 months, the average surplus per month was about 10,000. There's no real funny expenses, other than the one expense in August. So, the reality is, there's not, let's just say this, there's no The main expense of the church would have been, it's because Nigel is gone, the pastor's salary. And that's why there's the big saving. Our tithing has decreased, but it's not having really an impact. So there's not too much to report back on the finances really. We will discuss the pastor's salary first in the core committee, and then we'll discuss it at that church meeting. I don't really want to discuss it now. If there's nothing really further to add, then we'll just accept the finances as it is at the moment. So, Mark, you count.
Yes, they're there.
Okay, Mark, left now.
What's the total there?
Okay. Okay. We don't normally say the number, so congratulations, David. You have been elected now as an elder. Well, that about that, and I say the Lord bless you in your function. Thank you. I want to thank you for the role you have been playing at the church. It's been a significant role, and thank you for that. Me, and maybe also, and not me, and the congregation, but I can definitely speak well for myself. Appreciate your effort that you put in the church. Thank you very much for that. And I'm glad to have you as an elder.
It's a pleasure to serve the congregation.
Thank you. Church property. I saw you spoke to Duncan a bit now. On the church property, I also spoke to Duncan about what's happening there now. So there's no, unless I'm missing something, but there's nothing new to report. The reality is that when you want to say something, maybe I'll add if
So the school is, I think we can all understand the school's gone through a difficult time on two counts. One is they lost their matriculant accreditation. The Department of Education, you know the story. They were running a certain curriculum that no longer was recognized. So they had a huge drop in numbers, especially for the high school. And then obviously COVID also came. And you know these private schools aren't cheap schools, so they have lost pupils. All the homeschoolers are back at the school, but they're struggling from a financial point of view because people have lost their jobs and people are looking for tutors. So on those two counts, they've struggled. The couple who was really leading the project, Annalene and Henk Bester, they've left for Cape Town as well. So Zelda, the headmaster, is running everything at this stage, so she has her hands full. And they're busy working on the property and they're maintaining it, everything. And I think the grand projects have been put on hold a little. Just in terms of their curriculum, they have now partnered with the Hatfield online schooling system so that they have accreditation now again, and they expect to get better numbers. My cousin actually is one of the tutors for Hatfield online, and apparently it's, they're extremely busy. We were a little concerned that they'd be too strongly aligned to Hatfield, that Hatfield as a church might want to have an influence, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So it's purely on the schooling and the curriculum that they've partnered with Hatfield, so they now have the online Hatfield accredited matriculant curriculum that they can go with, so they can attract high school pupils again. But in terms of, they had quite grand plans of developing the property. Those are probably going to be on ice until some stability comes back. So I think they're still hugely appreciative of the property, so nothing has really changed, and we look forward to some new developments. I think it may also, just to the executive, I'd like to propose just to have a meeting and just have a chat with them at some point, just to understand that we're still all on the same.
I'm happy with that.
All our ducks are on the same page.
Thanks. Thank you, Wayne. Yeah, so that is what it is. It's COVID affected many things. This is definitely one of them as well. With regard to the pastor, so the pastor, next week is the last. It will be Trevor Besson, and then there will be interviews. And we plan to have in one day the call committee. We will need to send out questions up front, and I'll make sure to send the questions, to distribute the questions this week among the call committee. So we can decide on what the questions would be to raise to the candidates. Now, the questions would be provided up front, because it's not like a job interview where you it's not a normal job interview. It will be questions up front, so the candidate can consider it and be ready with answers on feedback on the day. It will be something like, what's your view on fruits of the Spirit? Have you ever changed any dogma in your life? It's questions like that. It's not superficial. It's to get an understanding of the spirituality of the person. See if it fits and it can work. Then the then there will be feedback to the church, and there will be a meeting. We'll provide feedback on that in due course. And at least I'm glad to see that this movement, that I'm really glad about. It's been long, very long, actually. If there's no new matters or other matters, then that today, we have, maybe I should just provide feedback. We actually have bought a new computer. So next week it will be here. And we expect less technical issues because it's a new computer. It should work well. It's been bought. We'll bring it along next time. It's got a hard state. What do you call it? Solid state. Anyway. Supposed to break loose. Is that correct?
That's when the software gets temperamental and they have issues.
I didn't buy it. I've been told. Yeah, I have a specialist bought it. Then that concludes our meeting for today.
No, you haven't discussed the finances.
We approved them.
No, it was when you were counting.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yes. Was there something you want to mention about it?
No.
Okay. That's fine. Then we will, I'm not going to determine a date now. For the next meeting we will announce a new date as time goes on. So let us just end with prayer, and then